Let's learn how to make a Tic Tac Toe board. First, you're going to make your template. If you're making your own template, you want to use the little green Tic Tac Toe grid and make sure that it fits on whatever you're making. You also have some pre-made templates from old students or squares and circles that are up front. After you've made your template, you would cut it out. Next, you're going to roll a slab, and you want to make sure that your template fits. This one needs to get wider and longer. I'm going to have my 2 guide sticks on the side and my rolling pin and a canvas board. I rolled it longer, but now I need to, now it needs to be a little bit longer and wider. So I'm going to switch it. So I made it wider and longer. I have a couple bubbles, so I'll pop those with a needle tool. And then I'll use a rubber rib or a metal rib if you have one to compress my slab. Next, I'm going to trace my template onto this slab. You can use a needle tool, really, or any other tool that you have, and you just want to press really lightly to trace that whole template around. Cut it out using a knife. Now you don't want your knife to be at weird angles. You want to try to keep it straight up and down as you cut. I like to cut out section by section. I find that it just makes my cuts a little bit easier, especially when I'm going around curves. Next, I'm going to smooth the edges. I'm going to use a little bit of water and just take that right along any rough or sharp edges. We never want to have rough or sharp edges when we're making something. You can spray a little bit of water onto your table, but since I'm still working on a canvas board, I'm just grabbing a piece of laminated paper and putting a little puddle of water there. And then I'm just running my finger with that water right along the edge to make it so that it is not sharp or rough, more like a smooth edge. Next, I'm going to show you how to draw the grid lines for your tic-tac-toe. So you can decide if you'd like to have an edge all the way around it, like this, or if you'd rather just not have the edge around and just have the grid lines showing. It's totally up to you. So I'm going to show you what to do if you want to have it all the way around. So the first thing you're going to do is just trace the whole square. Now, if you don't want to have your grid lines going all the way around like in a square shape, you just want to have the interior grid lines, then don't trace the square like this. Once we've done this, we're going to mark each of the spots that the grid lines are. So marking each side, the bottom grid lines, the other side, and then the top. Now I'm going to take something straight, like a ruler or one of my guide sticks, or even a piece of paper, and I'm going to line those grid lines up. So those marks I just made, top to bottom, line those up, and draw a very light line in between them. Now doing the bottom sides, and then the upper side. Now I have that all matching. Again, trace those lines really lightly. What happens when you don't trace them lightly is you end up cutting into your clay, and you don't want that to happen. Really light trace. So option number 1 for making your grid is doing slabs. So using one of those little pieces or rolling a new slab, and then just cutting some nice straight pieces. I'm using my guide stick here, but you could also use a ruler. You just want to cut some really nice grid pieces. I'm going to cut those perfectly so they match up with my grid. And then I'm going to score and slip where they go. Again, I'm doing the outside grid, but you don't have to do the square around the outside. You could just be doing your interior lines. Making sure I'm scoring both pieces really well. I'm going to add in some slip on one of them and press that down firmly. Next, I'm going to blend in the edges. So I'm going to take either plastic modeling tool or a wood modeling tool with a flat edge and just take a little bit of one piece of clay and blend it into the other. So I'm blending just a little bit of that slab strip there into the board. I'll do that on the other side as well. I'm trying to make this nice and even. And then I'll take a little bit of water with a paintbrush and just smooth it in. Option number 2, if you don't like the slab look, is you can do coils. So you can roll a small coil, however thick or thin you want it to be, and make sure it lines up with your grid lines there. And then again, scratch and score it on. Adding a little bit of slip, and then pressing it gently on. And then again, just like with the slabs, blending in those edges. So taking a little bit of that coil clay and blending it downward with a flat tool so that it like attaches to the slab. This will make it so as the clay dries and shrinks a little bit, it doesn't pop off of the slab. It is like really well attached. They're basically one piece now. Then taking that paintbrush and just kind of blending in those edges. If I have like a little, discontinuation there, I could blend them in. Now, if your board was a square, you'll see the edge there is all blended in. You might need to do that. So once you're done wrapping up the project, you want to make sure you don't leave it on that board because the board will dry it out. But put a bag on there. And then when you're ready to work again, you can tuck that bag under and work. Wrap it up nice and tight. No air in there. You're good to go.